Howdy folks, and welcome to another episode of Groovy Geeky. This is going to be another sort of unscripted episode. I'm making this really quickly because I want to get those search engine results. Anyways, yes, this has been something of a busy few weeks for me lately. I've had a Frank Zappa gig a couple of weeks ago. Then there was the Raw Power Music Festival last weekend, which was amazing. And then this week, Godzilla, King of the Monsters came out, and oh my god, like, you might have guessed from when I did a little mini-series about a brief history of Godzilla, I am a massive Godzilla fan. I mean, you can see behind me I've got all of these imported from Japan Godzilla vinyl figures. So anyway, yes, I have been really looking forward to seeing Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and I just want to set things straight. As a fan of the genre and Godzilla in particular, I really loved the film. Like, I know it's been getting a bit of a drubbing from the critics and that, and I'll talk about more on that later, but it was more than I expected it to be. Like, American Godzilla films tend to, well, there's only been two beforehand, and one of them was a snooze fest, and the other one was incredibly dumb and stupid. Like, I mean, Zilla's design is cool and that, yeah, but the film is terrible. Really terrible.
That's a lot of fish.
And so I was kind of going into this expecting it not to be brilliant. My expectations were low, and I had some reservations on how well they would treat King Ghidorah, who is, after Godzilla, my second favourite kaiju, and was so happy that, yes, this is King Ghidorah in all its majesty. This is like the original, feels like the original. It's just so powerful and so super cool. But let's just get on with the review. It's a good film. It's very, I was going to say it's very long, but it doesn't feel long for me, because there's a thing about this film is that it feels like it was made for the fans rather than a general audience. So there was enough references and little side in-jokes and all of these kind of things, as well as lots of monster action, that really sort of kept it fresh and interesting for me. But I do get the impression that a general cinema-going audience person might not get all of the references, and so some scenes might drag for them. The human story was, like, it wasn't brilliant, but, I mean, it's no worse than any other kind of big Hollywood blockbuster action film. The acting was a bit wooden, like you could build a fucking table out of it. But again, it's a kaiju film, and compared to some of the previous voice acting and dubbing that's happened in Godzilla films in the past, I can deal with wooden acting, because you don't tend to watch these kind of films for fucking Shakespeare, do you? Like, this is your big dumb monster action fight film, and it's fun. And that's what it is. That's all it needed to be. We had our amazing, artistic, perfect, intellectual Godzilla film 3 years ago with Shin Gojira, which is one of my favourite films of all time. And I don't know if it can be surpassed in terms of a monster film. But this one is like the opposite. There is no quiet moments of reflection on Japanese politics and like how their social system is. No, here you have some monsters and they want to fight, and that's what you get, and it's fun, and that's all it is. That's all it needed to be. It is a fun monster fighting film.
Run.
And now let's get on to the monsters themselves. Obviously, you've got the 4 main monsters that have been advertised. You've got Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah. And I'm going to start with Rodan because I don't like Rodan, but this is the best version of Rodan I've seen. Like, the design is really good. It looks menacing as all hell, and character-wise, it reminded me so much of Starscream from the old Transformers cartoon, and that was like really funny. Ghidorah is King Ghidorah. It is powerful and almighty, and just every second it's on the screen is like, I just felt like crying tears of joy. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Mothra was Mothra, and like, they got her right. And Godzilla was a huge hulking behemoth of power, and it played the hero as well. Like, it was a really heroic Godzilla, which, like, for me, I see Godzilla as a force of nature, but here it was a hero. And while it's not my personal interpretation of the character for what the film was and what it does and everything, yeah, fine. This is like not how do I say? Like, this film is its own version of Godzilla. It's like, there are hundreds of different continuities for the franchise, and this is this one. And yeah, like, the design is really cool. It's vastly improved from 2014's design. Like, the differences are kind of subtle, but enough to make it feel big. Enough to make it feel like a big change for those of us who would notice it. But yeah, talking about the designs, yeah, Godzilla has its maple leaf spines, and Ghidorah is Ghidorah. Like, I was so worried about what they're going to do. Like, they're not going to have a giant golden dragon with 3 heads. That would just look silly in a Hollywood film. But no, they did, and oh, it was so beautiful. Like, yeah, they got Ghidorah perfectly. And Rodan, I've said, like, is my favourite Rodan design. And Mothra, like, she's small. Not that small, but yeah, she's still a giant monster. But compared to the others, she's small, but she's got massive wings. So yeah, she's still giant Mothra, and she's still a hero. So yeah. So that's the monster designs. The action scenes are very over the top. It's like watching a live action, well, CGI cartoon, and like incredibly fun. Just so silly. It reminded me of some of the cheesy moments in the old 60s films and that. Talking of which, the film is basically a remake of Ghidorah the 3-headed monster in a more modern time sensibility thing. And yeah, what a perfect film to choose for it. Now, the humans? Yeah, the human story is serviceable. Like, it's typical, it's nowhere near as boring as the 2014's Godzilla film's human story. Charles Dance and Millie Bob Brown, is that her name? They both do their stuff like really well. They look like the 2 good actors. Ken Watanabe he tries his best, but some of his dialogue is so stilted and just exposition that it doesn't really shine. Which brings me to like my biggest complaint about the film, is that a lot of the story is spent building a lore for the series, because they want to do more. There's King Kong versus Godzilla next year, and they've said that they want to do more films in the series after that as well. So a lot of this film was spent creating backstory and setting seeds for future ways the series could take. And I think if you're not invested in this world, that can be like really dull. So if I was gonna make the film, there is a good 20 minutes that could be cut to make it feel more faster and action packed, and also more relatable by focusing on the main human story and not on building the background and the lore. But as a fan of the franchise, I was myself fine with that and enjoyed those moments and how it built this bigger picture. And there was obviously lots of links to Kong Skull Island that helped make it feel like a cohesive universe. So that is really cool. Going back to the acting, there's essentially like 5 or 6 characters in the whole film. Obviously there's like a bigger cast of sub-characters, but many of them say like 2 lines in the whole film. And yeah, as I said, Charles Dance is a good, menacing villain doing the best with what he's got. Millie Bob Brown is a somewhat believable character. Her parents... you know what, I'm not gonna go, because I don't want to do any spoilers, because I think, if you want to see this film, you should see it without spoilers. But yeah, some characters are not very well fleshed out, but the monsters are, and that's what you come to see. It's called Godzilla King of the Monsters, not Godzilla the family soap opera. You come here to see the monsters fight, and it's all you need to see, and it's great for a fan. And this is like, I feel I really need to hammer this point home, that I think you do need to be a fan to get the most out of this film. Michael Dougherty is a fan, like he grew up watching these films and they were a big emotional part of his childhood and upbringing, and the love that he brings to the franchise you can really tell. And there are so many references. There are references to Mothra's twins, they're originally played by the Peanuts in the original film. I can't remember what. But anyway, yep, there is reference to those. There's the musical cues from the original films of Godzilla, Mothra and all that. The sound effects, and yes, bloody King Ghidorah has his gravity beams, shooting his electricity looking things. Oh, that was just literally tears of joy just streaming down my face. So yeah, as a fan, I loved it, but I can see that people who are not obsessive kaiju fans might not. But that's the balance you make. You have to balance between making a film that the fans will like and appreciate, and a film that the general mass audience will appreciate. I think maybe this time too much weight has been put on the fan side, but at the same time I am a fan, so I love it. And this leads me to the final thing, the point about the critics. This film has been getting savaged by the critics, and a lot of the Godzilla and Kaiju and Tokusatsu community are pretty angry about that and being like, fuck the critics, they don't know what they're talking about. I've got to say, no. I think that film critics are very, very important for the industry, and they help it move forward, and they can shine a light in areas which need improving on. And yeah, this is a genre film. This is a film where everything is geared towards fans of the genre, and critics tend not to react kindly to genre films, and that's fine. And I can totally understand that. In the end of the day, a critic is a person with an opinion. Their opinion is going to be based on having watched thousands and thousands of films of a wide variety of genres and styles and that, and they are looking for certain things in a film. And if a film doesn't deliver on those things, they are not going to be overly kind to it. They are judging it based on the criteria that they have set. That's what they do. And it's from that films can learn ways to improve. And everything they've said about this film, is a way that it can improve if it wants to go in a direction like that. So I'm not going to be one of those damn the critics to hell kind of people. I totally get that they have their points that they are making, and that is good for them. Like, it's a very niche genre film presented to a mass audience. So it is, like, yeah, it's not perfect. It's not going to appeal to everyone. And that's kind of it. Like, I think you need to, as a person, if you follow critics, what I do is there's a few that I follow that I trust their opinions on, but at the same time I know that we're different people, so we're not going to agree on every single film, every single point they make. And in your head you kind of do the maths and the clockwork, and it's like you make judgment calls based on what opinions of theirs you agree with and disagree with, like you do with every other person in the world. So don't take too much stock in what they say in that it influences your opinion on it. Watch the film for yourself and see whether you like it. And, you know, you can disagree with your favourite critics. That is possible. And that's it, like, you make your opinions. And if critics aren't there to tell you what to think, they are there to provide, like, a different understanding that can help inform your opinions. And that's it. So, I don't want to leave on a negative note about the whole critics backlash thing. So, again, I just want to jump in and say, oh my god, King of the Monsters, as a Godzilla fan, I love it. I'm probably going to go see it again when I get some money. But, yeah, if you like Godzilla films, you're probably going to like this. It's the action scenes, the monster scenes, just so good. It's like a live action cartoon, CGI cartoon, whatever. So till next time, folks, keep it real. Bye.
You are out of your goddamn mind!
I am sorry, but this is the only way.
You're a monster. I'm sorry.
Long live the king.